Happy Monday, everybody. We are just finished watching a YouTube video on induction and electromagnetism, and we have a lab today from our lab books that deals with creating a motor like he did in the video and an electromagnet. So you will need to take a look at Lab 14 in your books, which you can find online. I've linked it into the assignment, or just get your physical book out. It's lab number 14. The issue on this lab is that you have everything you need in your science supplies kit except the magnets. So that's why I'm not going to make this lab required. Because not everybody can go out and buy it. It's two different magnets. It's a D-size magnet and a 9-volt magnet, and they're not cheap. So if your parents are willing to get you some magnets, or you got some sitting around, I recommend you doing this. It is beneficial to actually feel what's going on, to see what's going on, experiment with it a little bit. But either way, you will be responsible for the information to understand what's going on. So I'm going to walk you through just real quick the kind of basics of what you need to do so you can see it for those of you that have the magnets, or have the batteries. So you're going to need the wire that comes in your kit and the iron nails. Make sure there are 2 packages of nails. Make sure you get the iron ones. And they want us to take the wire, and we are going to, first of all, make an electromagnet, meaning that when I pass electricity through a wire, it creates a magnetic field. Remember in the YouTube video they talked about how, if I just if I just pass it through a single wire like this, the magnetic field is too small and you won't really detect it. But to intensify that, to magnify how much the magnetic field is, if you wrap it around an iron nail, it just increases that magnetic field. So you're going to take your nail, you're going to wrap your wire around it as many times as you can without overlapping. One thing you might want to try, just as an experiment for yourself, see what the difference is between wrapping it, say, 10 times around, wrapping it 20 times around, wrapping it 50 times around. Find out what the differences are. Okay? After you do that, we will hook it up to the battery. You'll have to strip the ends, just like I said in the YouTube video. This is kind of a reddish rose-colored wire. It does have a insulating film on the outside, so on the ends you do have to scrape it off till you get all copper color all the way on the ends. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit pause and strip my wires because you guys don't need to see that. So I've got the ends of the wires stripped off. I just scraped it off with a knife. Now I take my 9-volt battery and I put the 9-volt battery connectors on there. And I'm going to connect the ends of these wires on the battery to the wires on my wires that go to the nail, making sure that the wires don't actually touch the nail, except for the part that's coated. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I have it connected. I have it connected to the 9-volt battery connector here. I have them connected, and one warning on this, that once you connect to the battery, don't leave it there very long. The battery does get hot. It could burn up, so this is just turn it off, check it out, and do it quickly, and then take it off. Don't leave it on the battery. Okay, so, oh no, my wire came off. Okay, let me hit pause and put it back together. Okay, so we are going to create an electromagnet, meaning electricity flowing creates a magnetic field. I will put this on the battery, which makes a current flow through the battery. Let me move the camera down here so you guys can see this. And once I do that, now the nail has become a magnet. You can see it's picking up the paper clip. So this is something you can do on your own, like I said though, but between trials, take it off the magnet because the magnet's getting hot. See, now this one, it could only pick up one. So you might want to do a little experiment and see what happens. Like I have it wrapped around 10 times. What happens if I wrap it around 20 times? So if you want to do that experiment, make sure that when you cut the wire, you leave a really long, one of them is going to be really long so that you can keep adding more loops. Okay? So that is how electricity flowing, especially electricity flowing in a high concentration by coiling up the wire and magnifying it with an iron nail, you get magnetism. Does anybody know a something that uses electromagnets in real life? I can think one of my favorite things to do is using electromagnets for brakes. That would be if anybody of you been to Top Thrill Dragster. They use electromagnets the same way. They induce a current through the wire that creates a magnetic field, and that's how they stop the train, is with magnets or an electromagnet. Okay, so that's the first part of the lab. The second part is creating a motor, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so the second part of the lab also deals with electromagnetism, and it's the idea of the same type of thing. I am creating a magnetic field by passing electricity through a wire and using that magnetic field to move something. In other words, make a motor. That he showed this really well in the YouTube video. So I'm going to show you some of the specifics of what they're talking about in the instructions on your lab. They want you to use paper clips and just kind of unfold them and use the electric tape. Basically, you're taping the two paper clips on the end of the battery so that you have hooks, okay? And you are creating a wire loop with your test tube. And the test tube, oops, the rolling way. The test tube is really just to get a loop. So you're just wrapping it around the test tube several times and then sliding it off and using, kind of wrapping it so that now I've got the one end's coming out this way, and if I were to cut this and wrap it around, the other end's coming out that way. You make sure and peel off the coating on both sides, and then you're setting that in these paper clips. And the last part of this is putting your magnet, there it is. You're putting the magnet on top of the battery. You've got the paper clips taped, and you've got this coil hanging from the clips. And what happens is you've created a magnet with this. You've got a magnet here. The two magnets will attract each other, and since that other magnet's in a loop, it will cause it to move. It'll be attracted to the magnet and then pushed away from the magnet. And that's kind of how an electric motor works. Okay? So both of these have to do with electromagnetism. If you remember the YouTube video, the induction was, if I were to pass a magnet over a wire, then I would create an electric field. We don't have the equipment to do that. So you can see in the YouTube video how he did that, how he induced an electric current with a magnet. Okay, so that would be induction. The other two things, the motor has to do with electromagnetism. If I were to pass my magnet over the wire and measure how much voltage that creates, that would be induction. Okay?